six. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Howdy, my friends. Good evening. Good evening to you. So, we are going to be talking about step 6. I thought I had 2 people, but I guess I didn't talk. Oh, they're still here. It's good to have you. We're going to be talking about step 6 from the 12 by 12 today. The shortest step in the big book, and probably one of the most important steps that we actually have. Have I ever mentioned I don't like bullies? I would bring that up. People that try and con. You know, before I got back into, because really I've only done a few things. I've either done sales and merchant services. I was a phone technician for a little while. Other than that, I've been a counselor or whatever, right? And I was in banking. And 90% of banking is fraud. And what I did is I sold those credit card machines in the processing. And then I also was a national recruiter and trainer for a little while. And so I can detect fraud and bullshit from a mile away. Right? Like, there's a new place and their peer coaches, right? And so I go to their website and take a look at it, and their headshots are them sitting on the couches. I mean, they're horrible, and they don't put in their last name. Why would you be a coach, a peer support specialist, a recovery coach, or anything that is a person of trust and leave out your last name? Why would you do that? Because they're hiding something. There you go. It really is as simple as that. Things are pretty straightforward when it comes to it. And the program doesn't leave much for wiggle room. It just doesn't. Right? All right. Welcome to the Daily Trudge. My name is Dion Chris. It's good to see you, brother. If you're here, please say hello. We're reading out 12 by 12. We're going to be doing step 6. We'll continue on with step 12 tomorrow. I just knew I needed to come on. I didn't know why. So, instead of stirring the pot some more, I figured I'd try and bring some hope this time on this one. So, step 6, we are entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Well, we just got through the 5th step. What an arduous thing, wasn't it? It was tough, man. I've been journaling and doing things like that since I was 12 years old. And it still isn't quite easy. I mean, you're telling on yourself. You're really in steps 4 and 5, what we are is fearless and thorough. Chris, I love you, but what the fuck am I supposed to say to that, man? I get it. I get it, Chris. I do. you're in a place that you don't want to be, around people that you don't want to be. You feel lonely. You feel separated. Um, and I wish, and I hear you. There's sometimes when I wish I just wasn't here. So I feel you. Okay. Um, that's probably the best I can do on that right now. But I want you to know that I love you. Okay. And if you're tired of being here and it's time for you to go, I love you, my friend. Give me a second, please. I just need to blow my nose. I'll just be a second. I didn't think anybody would want to hear me honking my horn there. So, all right. This is the step that separates the men from the boys. So declares a well loved clergyman who happens to be one of AA's greatest friends. He goes on to explain that any person capable of enough willingness to honesty to try repeatedly step 6 on all of his faults without any reservations whatever has indeed come a long way spiritually, and therefore is entitled to be called a man who is sincerely trying to grow in the image and likeness of his own creator. And there it is. That's step 6. Step 6 is about perfection. And it confuses a lot of people. In fact, they tried to clear it up by writing this. Okay, I'm going to tell you, this is redundant. Okay, it's 100 pages of telling you how to let go. Honestly, that's all it is. I didn't get much out of that book. It's a self-help book. Okay. Of course, the often disputed question of whether God can and will, under certain conditions, remove defects of character will be with a prompt affirmative by almost any AA member. To him, the proposition will be no theory at all. It'll be just about the largest fact in his life. He will usually offer his proof in a statement like this. Sure, I was beaten, absolutely licked. My own willpower just wouldn't work on alcohol. Change of scene, the best efforts of family, friends, doctor, and clergymen got no place with my alcoholism. I simply could not stop drinking. No human being seemed to do the job for me. But when I became willing to clean house and then asked a higher power, God as I understood him, to give me release, my drink obsession vanished. It was lifted right out of me. In AA meetings all over the world, statements like this are heard daily. It is plain for everybody to see that each sober AA member has been granted a release from this very obstinate and potentially fatal obsession. We call it a perfect release. Why? Because you're being released and it's being done perfectly. How's that God? Okay. So if I can use God to get rid of my obsession for alcohol, then gosh, I can start to use the same efforts, the same skills towards your other character defects. What are other character defects? Selfishness, self-centeredness, fear, anger, worry, sloth, the 7 deadly sins. We could go on and on with that. There are 100 different forms of self. See, we used to actually pull out when it says there are 100 forms of self, they're not kidding. Go look it up, get an actual dictionary and look up self. It is pages long. Okay? It's very, very long. Having been granted a perfect release from alcoholism, why then shouldn't we be able to achieve by the same means a perfect release from every other difficulty or defect? This is the riddle of our existence, the full answer to which may be only in the mind of God. Nevertheless, at least it is a part, the answer to it is apparent now. So when we start to utilize this now here's the thing, because it's kind of mixed. I don't believe that, my character defects aren't gone, but I am aware of them. And now that I'm aware of them and have accepted them, I can react differently. Okay. When I get angry, I don't take my anger out on other people. Right? Even if somebody steps on my toe as a jerk to me, I'm not allowed to beat up on God's children. I do what I can not to. I really do. I'm not always the best at it. Okay. But what I will do if I make a mistake is I will admit it, because the number one thing I'm going to do is keep my side of the street clean. I need to do that at all times because a lot of people listen to me. So I gotta keep my side of the street clean. That means if I make a mistake, which I do, I correct the error. Right? From there, I'm going to move towards God's perfection. And that is step 6, moving towards God's perfection. When men and women pour so much alcohol into themselves, they destroy their lives. They commit a most unnatural act. Okay? That unnatural act is suicide. Drinking alcohol for us, okay? Once you know that putting alcohol in your body is killing you and you continue doing it, that is called suicide. Okay, in AA, we call it suicide on the installment plan. I mean, it's going to happen over a period of time, and it's not going to be very, very pretty at all. Defying their instinctive desire for self-preservation, they seem bent upon self-destruction. They work against their own deepest instincts. As they are humbled by the terrific beating administered by alcohol, the grace of God can enter them and expel their obsession. Here, their powerful instinct to live can cooperate fully with their Creator's desire to give them new life. For nature and God alike abhor suicide. Hey, babe. That's my wife. Chris, I'm glad you're not perfect. We can only die when we cheat. Try it. No. Chris, you help so many fucking people. There's so many fucking people out there sober, living a good life because Chris decided to live a good life, man. All right. So that's what I'm going to say on it. But most of our other difficulties don't fall under such a category at all. Every normal person wants, for example, to eat, to reproduce, and to be somebody in society of his fellows, as he wishes to be reasonably safe and secure as he tries to attain these things. Indeed, God made him that way. He did not design man to destroy himself by alcohol, but he did give man instincts to help him stay alive. It is nowhere evident, at least in this life, that our Creator expects us to fully eliminate our instinctual drives. So far as we know, it is nowhere on the record that God has completely removed from any human being all of his natural drives. And that's what we're talking about. Our instincts. Okay, let's use the instinct of procreation. Human beings, most human beings, have a drive to procreate. It is a human instinct. Okay? How do you think we live on? We live on through our children. Okay. Since most of us are born with an abundance of natural desires, it isn't strange that we often let these far exceed their intended purpose. When they drive us blindly, or we willfully demand that they supply us with more satisfactions or pleasures than are possible or due to us, that is the point at which we depart from the degree of perfection that God wishes for us on earth. That is the measure of our character defects, or if you wish, our sins. Okay? There again, any emotion exceeded for its purpose is no good. Okay? Love can turn into lust beyond its exceeded appropriateness. I'm making up words now. If we ask God, God will certainly forgive our derelictions. Okay? But in no case does he render us white as snow and keep us that way without our cooperation. Without our cooperation, white as snow, as close as I can be to it. Are there going to be some imperfections? Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay too. Because you could go along the same lines of everything's perfect the way it is. That is something that we are supposed to be willing to work towards ourselves. He asks that we try as best we know how to make progress in the building of character. Progress. So we say progress, not perfection, but we're striving for perfection. It's what we got. God. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character, is AA's way of stating the best possible attitude one can take in order to make a beginning on this lifetime job. This does not mean we expect all of our character defects to be lifted out of us as the drive to drink was. A few of them may be, but with most of them, we shall have to be content with patient improvement. The key words, entirely ready, underline the fact that we want to aim at the very best we know or can learn. How many of us have this degree of readiness in all of our absolute sense of practically nobody has it? The best we can do with all the honesty that we can summon is to try and have it. Not even the best of us will discover to our dismay that there is always a sticking point, a point at which we will say, no, I can't give this up yet. And we shall often tread even more dangerous ground when we cry, this I will never give up. Such is the power of our instincts to overreach themselves. No matter how far we have progressed, desires will always be found which oppose the grace of God. That's the devil working in your life. People are going to come along. They'll say the grass is greener over here. Don't fall for it. Anything that takes you out of the sunlight of the spirit, don't go for it. Nope. If your tummy says no, that's a bad idea. Listen to your tummy. It's right. It's probably correct. Okay? We didn't listen to our tummies when we were drinking. You got to. That's where your intuition is. See, when I do something bad, you know what happens? My tummy hurts. I'm 53. Still happens. Why? Basic human instincts. Some who feel they have done well may dispute this, so let's try and think it through a little further. Practically everybody wishes to be rid of these most glaring and destructive handicaps. For me, it was anger. Anger was my biggest handicap, my biggest one. Okay. I do pretty good with it. No one wants to be so proud that he is scored as a braggart, nor so greedy that he's labeled a thief. No one wants to be angry enough to murder, lustful enough to rape, gluttonous enough to ruin his health. No one wants to be agonized by the chronic pain of envy or to be paralyzed by sloth. Of course, most human beings don't suffer these defects at these rock bottom levels, but we alcoholics do. We do. We go further. You know what that means? It means that there's room to go up. There's room to go up. And that's where our progress can come in. The further you've gone down, the more you're going to be able to help people. The more things you're diagnosed with and get through, the more you can help people. We who escape these extremes are apt to congratulate ourselves. Yet, can we? I don't, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm just doing the right thing now, which I should have been doing all along. I will claim my progress, but that stays between me and God. After all, hasn't it been self-interest, pure and simple, that has enabled most of us to escape? Not much spiritual effort is involved in avoiding excesses, which will bring us punishment anyway. But when we face up to the less violent aspects of these very same defects, then where do we stand? What we must recognize now is that we exult in some of our defects. That means we revel in them. We love them. We really love them. That's what they say. Who, for example, doesn't feel just who, for example, doesn't like to feel just a little superior to the next fellow, or even quite a lot superior? Isn't it true that we like to let greed masquerade as ambition? To think of liking lust seems impossible, but how many men and women speak love with their lips and believe what they say, so that they can hide lust in a dark corner of their minds? And even while staying within the conventional bounds, many people have admit that their imaginary sex excursions are apt to be all dressed up as dreams of romance. Here comes the big one: self-righteous anger, or justifiable anger. Same thing. I have a right to be angry. That's fine. You do have a right to be angry. You do not have a right to take it out on other people. Dion. I was saying that for me. Can also be very enjoyable. In a perverse way, we can actually take satisfaction from the fact that many people annoy us, for it brings a comfortable feeling of superiority. Gossip, barbed with our anger, a polite form of murder by character assassination, has its satisfactions for us too. Here, we're not trying to help those we criticize. We are trying to proclaim our own righteousness. Okay? So self-righteous anger does no good. Anger just doesn't do any good. It might give you a little bit of motivation, but as for, getting to a point of finding a solution, you may not. It is hard for me to come up with a solution or even see the solution while I am very angry. Go for a walk. Do something. When gluttony is less than ruinous, we have a milder word for that too. We call it taking our comfort. We live in a world riddled with envy. Yeah. I have a lot of people that are envious of me, and they have no reason to be. They have no reason to be. We live in to a greater or lesser degree, everybody is infected with it. It's true. I envy some other people, you bet. Mm-hmm. And I'm more than happy to admit it. To a greater or lesser degree, from this defect, we must surely get a warped yet definite satisfaction. Else, why would we consume such great amounts of time wishing for what we have not, rather than working for it, or angrily looking for attributes we shall never have, instead of adjusting to the fact and accepting it? And how often we work hard with no better motive than to be secure and slothful later on. Only we call that retiring. Consider, too, our talents for procrastination, which is really sloth in 5 syllables. Nearly anyone could submit a good list of such defects as these, and few of us would seriously think of giving them up, at least until they cause us excessive misery. All right. So people say that pain is the touchstone to all change. I'm going to tell you it's not a requirement. You do not need to be in pain to change. Do it intentionally. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. Some people, I'm trying to maybe get to a 5 o'clock meeting, so I'm speeding up a little bit. Some people, of course, may conclude that they are indeed ready to have all such defects taken from them. But even these people, if they construct a list of still milder defects, will be obliged to admit they prefer to hang on to some of them. Therefore, it seems plain that few of us can quickly or easily become ready to aim at spiritual moral perfection. We want to settle for only as much perfection as will get us by in life, according, of course, to our various sundry ideas of what will get us by. So the difference between the boys and the men is the difference between striving for self-determined objective and the perfect objective, which is God. So what separates the men from the boys? Doing the work. Doing the work, man. All right. And we want to settle for only as much perfection as will get us by in life. That's natural. That's your brain looking for the easier, softer way. Take those 2 extra steps, like I say. Take the 2 extra steps. You don't need to ask your brain for permission to do it. Many will ask, how can we accept the entire implication of step 6? Why? That is perfection. This sounds like a hard question. No, it's not. It's not. But practically speaking, it isn't. Only step 1, where we made a 100% admission where we were powerless over alcohol, can be practiced with absolute perfection. It's the only one. Okay? So don't worry about doing step 1 perfectly. You already did. Okay? All right. And can be practiced with the remaining 11 steps state perfect ideals. They are goals toward which we look and the measuring sticks by which we estimate our progress. Seen in this light, step 6 is still difficult, but it not at all impossible. The urgent thing is that we make a beginning and keep trying. If we could gain any real advantage in the use of this step on problems other than alcohol, we shall need to make a brand new venture into open-mindedness. We shall need to raise our eyes towards perfection and be ready to walk in that direction. It will seldom matter how haltingly we walk. The only question will be, are we ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to have God remove all these defects of character? The answer is yes. Okay. Looking again at those defects we are still unwilling to give up, we ought to erase the hard and fast rule line that we have drawn. Perhaps we shall be obliged in some cases still to say, this I cannot give up yet, but we should not say to ourselves, this I will never give up. Here's a key. I'm willing. Use your key of willingness. It's the key. It is part of the key to this step. Okay? If you don't want to give it up, then just be willing to give it up. If you're not willing to give it up, then pray for the willingness to give it up. So you already have it. It's just what if you're going to use it. Let's dispose of what appears to be an hazardous open end we have left. It is suggested that we ought to become entirely willing to aim towards perfection. Told you so. We note that some delay, I don't read ahead. I just do this a lot. So it all goes in order, man. It all goes in order. So, and everything fits. Willingness is in every fucking step. So it's not hard. We note that some delay, however, might be pardoned. That word in the mind of rationalizing alcoholic certainly be given a long-term meaning. You could say, how very easy. Sure, I'll head toward perfection, but I'm certainly not going to hurry any. Maybe I can postpone dealing with some of my problems indefinitely. Of course, this won't do. Such a bluffing of oneself will have to go the way of many other pleasant rationalizations. There can be no lurking notions, my friend. No lurking notion. That alcohol will catch that lurking notion one day. Then you'll be hooked and you won't have a choice. Then you will be dealing with something out of your control. At the very least, we shall come to grips with some of our worst character defects and take action toward their removal as quickly as we can. The moment we say no, never, our minds close against the grace of God. Delay is dangerous and rebellion may be fatal. This is the exact point at which we abandon limited objectives and move towards God's will for us. Yay. All right, Chris, I've been thinking on this. You need to get your ass to some meetings, man. I've been trying to get you in Zoom meetings. It's where I go. I know you don't necessarily like them, bro, but you need some people in your life, man. You need to be accountable. You need to get back to meetings. All right? I love you, man. I love you a lot. Okay? And I'll come back down. I will show you how to use Zoom again if I need to. Okay? That's where I go. You can catch me there. And I will get you to some meetings, man. But you're missing out on the fellowship. And you're my friend. And I call bullshit because I love you a lot. I've known Chris since I was 19. I've known Chris as long as I've known my wife. And I love you. Get your ass to some meetings before I come beat you. All right. So there. Don't make me go get leisure. I love you, bro. I do. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. DACA.org. Hit the meeting thing. Go to get us meetings. All right. Love you. Everything I got, dude. Everything. Peace out. Have a day.